What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. Today we have a massive news roundup. The developers have had a media blitz this week, and we're going to summarize the best information that's been discussed, taking out a lot of the filler, covering interviews from various websites, live streams, and the big AMA yesterday, subjects spanning from everything you need to know about Overwatch 2, Competitive 2.0, the new support heroes and how they're going to be designed, Battle Pass monetization, and more. First up, Competitive 2.0. The new ranking system converts from the original Overwatch 1 ranking system in the following way. Sub-tiers used to be 500 SR, which is a pretty big range for a single rank icon. So us as the community, we would often say, are you in high or low plat? Whereas now that same 500 SR split between one rank icon to another has subdivisions per 100 SR. So while they keep bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster, within each you will get a corresponding number in that 5-point system, and that's what they mean when they said in the reveal event that there's less granularity. They're just sort of hiding that more specific detailed ELO number and showing you more the broad strokes. So the way they explain it here is from 2000 to 2099 SR, you would be considered a gold 5 player because the next hit of SR you get would put you into platinum 1. And if you were 3700 SR, you would be considered a Masters 3 player. With this information being hidden a bit more, we won't be able to directly see the numbers going up or down so much. But let's just say that your average SR gains are exactly the same from Overwatch 1. So somewhere between 20 and 30 SR gained or lost. It's still going to take like 5-ish games to go up or down one of these sub-tiers. The idea, I think, is that you focus less on what the number is and just play more. I don't know how I feel about this because it sort of translates 1-to-1 anyway, but maybe the extra thought you have to put into reading the icons will help you feel a bit better rather than just seeing a sort of emotionless number go up and down. There's still a lot more questions we need answered on this subject, but a big one was answered when asked if there would be an MMR reset in Overwatch 2. This was the answer. We won't be performing a complete MMR reset for Overwatch 2, but we do plan on lowering the MMR of accounts who haven't played in a while as part of a new decay system. A complete reset would mean that games would be completely imbalanced for weeks or longer across the entire service, and we don't think that would be a great experience for everyone. Now, my opinion differs from a lot of my friends on this MMR reset issue, whereas I've seen them say, well, it's a brand new game with new mechanics and an entirely new approach to it. Why not just reset entirely? But I think the truth is that they don't realize that if you do that, then it treats all players as equal, and they have to grind through some incredibly unbalanced matches for a long time before everyone kind of gets leveled out and assessed in the system. Another way to say this is, do we really need to play a GM versus a gold to know how big of a gap there is between them? I don't think so. I think the soft resets can do it, and as long as they're useful enough and maybe a bit more aggressive than they were before, I don't think you need players to drop more than a rank or 2 if they've been inactive. And if they have been active, well, that's supposed to pan out anyway. It's like sort of either way, I think it'll help. Because the truth is, and nobody likes this being said out loud, but the lower, let's say, 90% of the Overwatch rank system is incredibly accurate, other than Smurf Accounts, which is a whole nother situation that I'll mention in just a second. Just landing the basics of the mechanics of the game is really what it's all about. And I always thought the rank system did a great job there. It's just once the game becomes more about teamwork and you can't just play for increasing your solo impact, then it gets a little scarier and players are abusing broken heroes. I certainly have gotten to higher ranks, meta changes, and you don't really fit there playing on the new meta. Like, the upper ranks are hurt most by a lack of a decay system, whereas the lower ranks that aren't really meta bound, I'm fine with it not being so strict, because most players' games will feel horrible if they full reset the entire game. And I think the inclination that most content creators have to try to weed out the boosted players from the higher ranks is just that. It's a high ranked opinion, and hopefully decay works for those tiers. but we don't need to reset the whole game, I think. I think we should let them explain further how the ranking system's going to work, and especially at the higher tiers. Like, we have a budget version of it now where GM players get reset to 3,900 on placements. I hope that's a lot more advanced. And if it is, then the thing that my content creator friends think they're solving might be solved in another way without needing to trash the average plat player's experience as they just get beaten down by players way out of their skill range. We don't need that. But obviously, the alt account issue is probably the biggest concern for ranked players now. It has been for years, but even more so a concern when you start talking about a ranked system with free to play. Well, it has come out that even for beta phase 2, you need cell phone verification for your account. This is massive, especially for the console community where it's really easy to make extra accounts. I also think because Overwatch has cross progression aspects to it, having that cell phone verification tied to your BattleNet helps them keep everything consistent. So while cell phone verification isn't a magic wand, it is going to help crack down on the overabundance of alt accounts, either for smurfing or griefing, or my personal least favorite, the apathetic player who plays it like it's quick play. A lot of that should be improved when it's a higher barrier of entry to create an alt account. You still will be able to, but it gives Blizzard more options, more control to crack down on it, especially in a free-to-play game. Interesting answers about guilds and tournaments. Aaron Keller says that the guild system is near the top of the list when thinking of new social systems that they're adding, but it's also a huge lift. He says we have put significant work towards this feature, but it's too early to talk about specifics or when it might come out. So that means it's in development, but maybe this might go into the post-release bucket, as right now they're probably just focusing on getting the game out October 4th and having it working ready and everything good. So does this mean guilds is next year, the year after? Not really sure. Another answer, in-game tournaments is something the team is starting to dig into more. Okay, that seems a little bit more optimistic. So maybe we'll be getting tournaments before a guild system? Because as well, think of it like this. A lot of us super try-hard Overwatch players know that tournaments will be like the real ranked mode. So that the sort of quick match pickup game ranked mode, yeah, that's for like your individual skill, but can you actually perform in a real competitive setting? If that mode comes out, then maybe we don't have to have the expectations that the normal ranked mode can also fulfill a sort of higher tier ranked experience, because it kind of can't by design. Please just make it easy to play with mixed ranked teams. Other competitive news, Scott explained a bit more about the after action report we're going to be getting. When you look at your recent games, you'll be able to see basic information such as the map, game mode result, the heroes you played. But then within the report, you can view statistics for all the heroes you played and a snapshot of the final in-game scoreboard. They're also starting to design additional features for the future, like team fight statistics and a timeline to show when key events in the game took place. A suggestion for this would be really cool if in that timeline you could then select a key point and go right to the replay from when it happened, loading it up at that timestamp. That would be really cool. But you see how like in depth they're trying to go with this. I'm curious to what he means by team fight statistics. Is that whether you won or lost the team fight, or where the resources of the team went? I would even like this in the scoreboard somewhat, because who's getting what cooldowns from the team is crucial information when assessing what the heck's going on in the fights you're winning and losing. But from the looks of it, at least after the game, you'll have some more tools to be able to discern that. This has the potential to be a lot bigger of a deal than it's sounding on paper, I think. Next, let's talk about support heroes. Uncle AA Ron confirmed that they have several heroes deep in development. The Season 2 hero is almost finished, and they're in varied stages of playtesting for the next 3 heroes, 2 of which are supports. So it was already announced that in Season 2, we'll be getting an additional tank. We're expecting 1 new support to be the Fox Girl on launch of the game October 4th, but then beyond that, for Season 3 and on, 2 of the next 3 heroes are supports. Now, who knows when they decide to release which, so we're not going to tie them down to that. It seems like the start of Overwatch 2, they're biasing a bit more towards that tank role, maybe a bit too much, considering it's incredibly popular to play the 1 Giga tank in the game, but the next rollout will be biased a bit more towards support heroes, which is good. Other things to expect for support: halfway through beta phase 2, there'll be a change for Moira, and for launch, they're looking to change Brigitte's ultimate. Beyond that, there's been more discussion in especially the one-on-one interviews that some gaming websites have done with the developers, discussing a lot the mentality of what types of supports they're going to be making for Overwatch 2. Lead hero designer Jeff Goodman had said that while high aim skill heroes like Ana and Zenyatta are cool, they also want to develop more Mercy style heroes, or a bit more about positioning, timing, and MOBA skills. So with him revealing that, I think it's pretty safe to say that one of the upcoming support heroes in this, like, I don't know, 6-month span we're looking at between launch and the extra seasons will be a more decision-making hero rather than an aim-dependent one, which I think is a very, very good thing, because they've already really committed the tank category to be about being sort of a MOBA carry. The new tanks are really involved. They have a lot of buttons to press. It's going to be tough for them to design a very supportive one like tanks were at earlier stages of Overwatch, where if you're a little less skilled, you can kind of just hold a barrier and contribute a lot. Whereas now, well, they're just boss characters that need to perform a lot of actions and land a lot of abilities, even the quote easier ones like Reinhardt 2.0, you've got to be aggressive, whereas the support category is the one I think that they can really add some more friendly characters that contribute to the team fights in a directly supportive way. On this subject, in the AMA, it was asked if there would be more utility-based support heroes, as opposed to all of them always having healing. I love this question because I've spoke about this over the years. In MOBA games, it's very common for support heroes to be ones that have particularly disruptive kits, not necessarily healing, but for example, something like Maywall or Sombra Hack. Those disables often are in the support class, but Overwatch would probably feel too punishing without supports having some healing, which is why they tend to go that direction. Josh No explains this by saying it's difficult to tune because healing is so broadly useful. And the implication here is like the utility they'd have to would have to be so insane compared to the flexibility that just giving healing does. So instead what they try to do, he says, is playing with the ratio of healing, utility, and damage a hero has, and that can make up for unique and very different feeling gameplay experiences. It sounds like what he's saying here is that rule set is likely not going to be changed, where you'll always expect some of that ratio. But maybe some heroes will be more biased in one direction than the other. We'll have to see. Next section, I'm going to talk about the Beta 2 features. It was confirmed that all of the new hero looks will be in Beta Phase 2, which I think is super important for the mainstream player base who expects Overwatch 2 to give the impression that it's a new game. One example of a new hero visual redesign they talked about was Junkrat, where Casey says, his visual update, we tried to keep the iconic feel of the character while keeping the new design feeling fresh and new. For him specifically, we tried to embrace more of his tinkerer aspect of his personality. We don't want people to forget the fact that he's not just crazy, but undoubtedly intelligent too. Wait, who are we talking about? Also, they forgot to add here, he looks a lot like XQC now, which probably makes more sense than it should. Another one discussed is Orisa. Her new look is more aggressive, and she has a vibe of being more confident. The narrative designer, Miranda, explains this as being due to the gap between Overwatch 1 and 2. A lot of the heroes have gone through personal development in that time, and whereas in Overwatch 1, Orisa in the lore was kind of learning the ropes as a hero, well, now she's confident. No longer hiding behind double shields. No, she likes to get in the fray and is confident doing so. I think we'll see a lot of that development with the characters. It was also revealed that there is 25,000 voice lines in Overwatch 2, many of them coming out with specific interactions between characters or even with specific gameplay elements that will trigger a new voice line. Also with Beta Phase 2, they are announcing that there will be a Symmetra buff. Josh No says that he wouldn't necessarily call it a rework, but changing the mechanics to be sped up for 5v5, such as a shorter teleporter build time and a faster secondary fire projectile speed, which all makes sense, and I also think has the potential to kind of skyrocket rush comps. We'll worry about balancing it later. Next, let's talk about the Junker Queen. Some tidbits about her and how she interacts with the game. One fun fact that I didn't know, there apparently is a cap on maximum speed boost. Josh No even forgot this, and he said, if he recalls correctly, it's 75%, which could change in the future. There is a mechanic with Junker Queen that if she doesn't throw Gracie, her magnetic knife, and melees a target, sort of like Zenyatta has a super kick with a effect, well, Junker Queen will deal additional melee damage while also applying wounds. But if she's thrown Gracie, she'll just do a normal punch. They went into more depth to talk with Flats and Emong on their stream today about Junker Queen. A few key takeaways is that her playstyle is all about comboing her abilities together. And the more skilled you are with Junker Queen, the more tanky you will be. They did mention, like I did in my video discussing her, that because melees go through shields, throwing her knife or swinging her big axe, that's going to apply wounds to Reinhardt and his team trying to hide behind a barrier. So although she doesn't have defense, her offensive skills kind of penetrate a defensive setup in many ways. So land your abilities, they can do work. As I say that, probably a shield blocks the dagger throw, but since it's magnetic, you can kind of throw it around and recall it to hit enemies in the back as it goes to your location, so you can lead it, move a bit, then recall it to aim where it's going to be going. So as long as you're landing those wound effects, you will get the extra life to be able to survive while fighting. But the devs explain a few cool interactions. It seems launching at something defensive is where she's strong. The devs do explain where she's weak, the obvious one being Ana, but also weak against characters like Orisa and Sigma, who can deal high damage at close range and notably have stuns and boops to keep Junker Queen from closing the distance. So if a shielding Reinhardt is easy prey for Junker Queen, then a tank that is more defensive and can hold their ground, especially landing stuns, is going to be a bit better. A few interesting aspects about Junker Queen's kit. Her scatter shot primary attack is like a buckshot with a tight spread and 6 shots. It's not going to be as high of damage as like Reaper shotgun, but since it has tight spread, you can shoot it from a little bit of range, and when you get in close, hit headshots to do devastating damage. But it seems like it's intended to be comboed with the other abilities to secure kills. But of course, the better your aim is to land those headshots, the more damage you're going to do. Keep in mind though, she's not intended to be like Roadhog at all, because the way you would play Roadhog is going for those isolated picks. Roadhog's hook pulls you from really far away all the way close into shotgun range, whereas Junker Queen's Gracie, or Blade, just boops you a bit, so it's not as strong of a CC. However, she does have a speed boost built in, so she can close the distance. That all I think helps get a better idea of how to play Junker Queen when we're going to be able to next week. Now, super important information about the Battle Pass, the things they're already selling. What are they worth? For now, they are selling a Watch Point pack, which gives you 2 exclusive legendary skins, the Season 1 Premium Battle Pass, 2,000 virtual currency, which up to this point, we weren't really sure how much that actually meant. They do explain this. Importantly, a premium battle pass for upcoming seasons will be 1,000 virtual currency. So the $40 Watch Point pack has 3 battle passes in it, essentially, unless you want to use that currency for other cosmetic items. Now, I don't want to guess how much virtual currency costs in, say, dollars. Is 1,000 virtual currency $10? $15? Is it cheaper in a big pack like they're putting it here? You would think so. Because remember, we're expecting there to be more premium skins that are standalone that you have to pay for directly, and then the Battle Pass skins, which usually have a lot of average level cosmetics, and then an amazing one at the end of it. This is a super contentious topic, so I look forward to reading what you guys have to say about this, if you think this is fair or not. But other things that were confirmed, that they are moving away from loot boxes entirely. Your old currency from Overwatch 1, you get to keep, but all the loot boxes you've stored up are going to instantly open. When they change over to Overwatch 2, you'll keep all the currency and everything, but that currency is worthless. They don't say it in these terms, but it seems from how they're explaining it that all the new stuff is on the new virtual currency that costs money and all that. So while you won't lose your old currencies, now the way it's been worded, maybe some of that currency can be used for a few things new, but I'm not holding my breath. Overwatch 1 credits come with you to Overwatch 2, but our new virtual currency will be the main currency, and there will be things in Overwatch 2 that will not be purchasable with those Overwatch 1 credits. Well, my question is there anything you can use them for that's new? Not clear. Probably not. And we'll get more information on this specific type of question ahead of the launch October 4th, as there's more things transforming about the game. For example, the player portrait and the level up system you're used to, that's going away. You'll be able to retain the legacy accomplishments you had from Overwatch 1 somewhere in the player card, but moving forward, you'll be leveling up your battle pass for each season as opposed to your overall ranking or your player level. But a cool thing with the cross progression of Overwatch 2, that's all linked together. All your cosmetics transfer over from different platforms. And a key thing I know a lot of Overwatch players are worried about with the Battle Pass, they did confirm that there won't be hero-specific challenges. Instead, it'll feel more about your lifetime contribution to certain metrics. But while it isn't explicit, we won't have quests like play Ana 3 games in order to gain something in the Battle Pass. You still might be biased to pick certain types of heroes or roles based on how that's set up, because some heroes, for example, don't block damage and others do. Some heroes deal more damage, heal more. So what things are they actually tracking? Because if the Battle Pass, for example, rewards you for playing the objective, well, turns out in Overwatch 2, playing the objective is terrible most of the time. In Push, the pros advance the objective and then run away, getting ready to fight again. They don't just ride it the whole time like an average player would. So I'm a little nervous that the Battle Pass might influence player behavior in a negative way. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. The Mythic skins were explained a bit more, and it sounds like these are going to be incredibly in-depth, and you'll be able to customize specific parts of that Mythic Genji skin, and has its own advanced animations. It seems like the Mythic level cosmetics are going to be like above what our expectations are for even Legendary. Hero bans were mentioned this week in 2 separate interviews. Aaron Keller seemed to not be into them at all, talking about the widespread fan base of the game and how important it is for even players that don't play the game to get immersion into the characters they love. And then if they hop into the game and they can't access them, that's like a alienating aspect of the game. Of course, as a hero draft advocate, not hero bans, we've moved on from that. I'd say that that type of thing would be in like the tournament mode, for example, not intended for the more casual modes, but perhaps even the balance of the game doesn't need it yet. Jeff Goodman had a very different response and said they've considered hero bans and they have talked about how they would resolve them and how they would design to make them work, and they aren't off the table. But it doesn't seem like anybody over there is optimistic about the idea. We'll talk a lot more about this in future because I think the map design and geometry and asymmetrical nature of the combat really helps us not to fall into a stagnant meta. It's looking good, but there are new ramifications from that I don't think anyone's really considered. Because your comps aren't foolproof in Overwatch 2, it's more common to walk out of spawn and auto lose first fight, needing to swap, which makes the game a bit rock, paper, scissors-y, and having that process in gameplay kind of sucks, as opposed to like a pre-strategy portion of the game and letting you prepare for what you're going to encounter. Getting smacked in the face with a counter and just being down based on just the meta selection kind of sucks, which is where like a draft would help prepare you for that. But also as well, the map agency we know is coming will help thin this out a bit so that you should know what to expect typically on a dive map, for example. Speaking of maps, it was asked if 2CP or assault maps would ever make a return. While they won't be in the main rotation, you can play them in custom games, and it doesn't seem likely that they're going to transform these maps into a new mode for quite some time. They might attempt this at some point, not on the radar yet. However, Winter says the mode I'd like to prototype for an assault replacement would need some of the tech we're developing for the PvE side of Overwatch 2. But again, that's currently just a sparkle in my eye. So this sounds like years down the line, but maybe like a HORDE mode or a tower defense style mode. Let's try to remember this because it was so many years ago when they kind of like teased the workshop. We didn't think we were going to get it, and then one day it just magically showed up. Now, they announce things in advance nowadays, so maybe it won't creep up on us like that, but I wouldn't be surprised, like, once they really start rolling with the PvE content, if some sort of PvE transferable tech that they develop winds up into a new mode for Overwatch PvP, because he's literally saying it here. Last section, we'll talk about the future, things coming down the line. You lore fans, there's going to be updated bios and a lot more lore to expect to give you a better sense of the things at stake in the Overwatch 2 universe. In the game, there is way more pre-match voice lines. Overwatch 1 had 1,200 pre-match conversational lines, and Overwatch 2 has 1,800 new interaction lines. Josh No, the senior hero designer, was excited at the idea for someone from the MEKA squad to finally be in the game. So maybe one day we'll get one of D.Va's friends as a playable hero. Seems to be one of the shortlist candidates for a year or two from now. That experimental card that went into Overwatch 1 unfortunately had to go down because it was crashing the game, and it seems to be no ETA when that comes back up. However, a lot of those changes they were testing are getting implemented into Beta 2, which goes live June 28th. An answer a lot of console players won't be excited to hear is there are no plans to enable aim assist on consoles when you are in crossplay lobbies. Scott Mercer says there is a significant enough gameplay difference between console players using gamepads with aim assist, PC and console players using gamepads without aim assist, and PC players using mice and keyboards that we also don't allow PC and console players to play together in competitive play. Not a huge fan of this answer, honestly. Half of the answer is explaining a thing that no one was asking for. But ultimately, I think crossplay between PC and console is less common than console to console, where they even combined the competitive ladder, which I think is amazing. I don't know if I think the game would break if quick play players had aim assist on controller. I will say it does help you reach a more stable skill floor sooner. So that's kind of the danger. Like a medium level player who's trying to learn mouse and keyboard is not going to be so happy about a controller user who has what effectively is sticky aim tracking on them when it's a lot easier to be off target when you're fully in control with a mouse. It's also easier to have a higher skill ceiling as well, and people tend to just focus on that part of it. The truth is mouse and keyboard mechanics puts more in your hands for better and worse, so you can be much worse, whereas aim assist kind of levels that out a bit in the middle. Also why I like playing on console, because it helps you focus a bit more on the strategy of the game when where the sharp edges of the mechanics of the game are shaven down a bit. All right, guys, that's everything for today's massive news roundup. I hope you did enjoy it. Leave the video with a like, and don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Click the bell icon to actually get notified when our new videos come out. You'll get notified directly to your cell phone. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.